Cherry. How you doing?
Talk with him, right, in advance, maybe in the next few weeks. Oh, okay. He has a chairman committee of the whole.
All right, we're ready to go in? Okay.
He is, but he says that's where he gets to school, so. Sorry? I know, because he says it's about cancer.
But how can he still keep the residence? Guess what?
Maybe it's his, I don't know if he inherited it.
Yeah.
Talk to him about initiatives. What about his EA?
What is that in regards to?
Statehood bill. Henry Wallace,
Hi, you Brian?
Yes.
My name is Absalom Jordan. We're here to see the chairman, but I understand he's not here.
Yeah, he's at a Metro City.
Okay, well, we are a group of citizens who are concerned about the statehood legislation. Dr. Croft and I are two of the original members to the 1982 convention that drafted the Constitution. Our concern essentially is with the Constitution that is included in the legislation that's being proposed. We have no problem with a referendum that asks the residents of the District of Columbia to support statehood. But we have some problems with the Constitution. It's a contentious Constitution. There are many issues that we have with it, and so we're asking the chairman at this particular point in time to remove that Constitution from the bill and just submit for the citizens of the city to ratify again, a statement of supporting statehood.
I'll pass that on to him. The referendum that we'll vote on Tuesday to put the referendum on the ballot. It's just the questions. It's not the actual document of the Constitution because that's not been introduced yet. I think it's going to be introduced shortly, but it will be a bill. The council will have to hold hearings on it, which I think will have to happen when we come back from recess. But we'll hold hearings on it, so there'll be more opportunity to testify on particular issues.
Well, we want to say ahead of time that what our concern is, even though you may hold hearings and what have you, we're concerned about a process that eliminated citizens from the beginning. And you can't achieve democracy by avoiding democracy or excluding democracy. So our concern is that we want that. We want to state right now, we want the Constitution separated from the legislation itself, and we want a clean bill going forward that just asks the citizens of the district to ratify statehood.
I'll definitely pass that on.
The resolution that I believe is the basis for the vote on the 12th has language in it regarding Constitution to be ratified by the council. But the unclarity about it is there's certainly a possibility that with that, if that language is put in, then a constitution that would empower the interpretation that the Constitution that came out of the commission, approved by the council in the fall, would go forward, and that's our real concern. There shouldn't be any mention of the Constitution in the bill.
The language here is, ineffectively, advising the council to approve this proposal would establish that the citizens approve a constitution, we don't even know what, of New Columbia to be adopted by the council. We're asking to approve, to ratify a pig in a poke without ever even knowing what it is or whether, the issues are all addressed and having very minimal input by the citizens. And as Abe mentioned, and I think everyone here thinks that the people need to be involved and substantially involved in the writing of our Constitution and making the basic decisions. And it can't be done where all you have is a couple of hearings and everybody gets 2 or 3 minutes to discuss issues that are very complex and a lot of things that most of the people drafting haven't even begun to think about how a state government should be structured.
So we're here in an effort to try to move forward on a question of statehood, rather than having a divided city when it comes to the vote in November. And so he needs to understand that.
Okay, I'll definitely pass
And
it
then
on.
tell him we're from all over the city, and there are lots of people like us who are asking questions and are very concerned about how this is being rushed through without much citizen input.
Sure, and he did hear some of this too from some of the
Right.
testimony at the various forums as
Yeah.
well. So.
Yeah, but
There's a real risk that attaching the Constitution to the referendum may lead to defeating it.
That's right. That's a concern, or a weak vote.
It's
That
been
wouldn't do
too
us any
fast
good.
a process, and we really feel that sufficient outreach was not done throughout the city. And that was a huge concern. Two of the conventions, so-called conventions, were held way up in Northwest Washington, where most people did not have access or even know. So I just wanted to add that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll be sure to pass it on to him. Thank you.
Ward 4.
5,
2, 1,
3.
4.
7.
8.
from God's country.
So we're from all over the district.
I appreciate it.
Hart and Ward 8 and Ward 7.
What is your name, please?
Brian Moore. I don't have it.
Is the EA here then?
Pardon?
Is his EA here?
Is
Executive assistant.
Our legislative assistant.
the legislative assistant is, I can try to call someone out the chief of staff and be like, I
Yeah,
can.
well, that's-
You're the person.
Yeah, I'm here today representing a group of residents from the District of Columbia. We have some serious concerns about the legislation that's being proposed.
Okay.
Our position is that essentially we want the council member to support the legislation by removing the provision and therefore adopting a constitution. We all agree that we want statehood to be ratified in November. But what we don't want is to have a contentious constitution as a part of that legislation. We believe that the process for developing a constitution is flawed, and we want the council member to support us in this effort of moving the provisions for the constitution in reference to a constitution of the legislation that's moving forward, and just leave it as a bill that deals with a referendum on statehood.
I mean, just statehood, yes or no. Very
Yes.
simple, very clear.
Okay.
I mean, the risk is if you leave the Constitution and all the rest of the stuff in there are enough people who are concerned about what's in the Constitution or not in the Constitution. They haven't had a chance to to participate, and you may end up defeating the whole thing. And I think the mayor really, and I hope the council, want to move statehood along, and the way to do that is to take it out and have a more deliberative process to write a new constitution.
Once again, I'm just trying to
Many
pull
defects
up
in
what
it.
was circulated.
It was circulated on the 28th of June.
Yeah.
It's advisory referendum on the State of New Columbia Admissions Act Resolution 2016.
Professor Croft and I are delegates to the original 1982 convention. And so we know the process that we went through. We believe that's the only way of developing a constitution, the same way we did it in 1982. But there are serious problems with what has been proposed up to this point. And the procedures that have been adopted, the hearings that have been held, there are some real serious questions about those.
I don't know whether you'd like us all to introduce ourselves and what wards we're from, so you can see how widespread the concern is on this issue.
Sure.
I think we're from every ward in the city.
Every word in the city.
Why don't you start, Ethan?
Yeah, I'm from Ward 8.
And can you give your name?
Yeah, I always introduced myself when I first came, but my name is Ab Jordan.
Absolutely.
I'm Shirley Brown, I'm from Ward 6.
And Lyco from Ward 3.
Linda Richmond from Ward 1, here representing the veterans, as you know, we have the
Yes.
veterans out of Ward 7 and 8, where my heart is in.
Peter Espinci from Ward 7.
Anise Jenkins,
Yeah.
stand up for democracy for EDC, Ward 5.
Kathleen Holly, Ward 1.
Ivana Powell Award for Stand Up for Democracy in DC.
Glad to see you. We spoke about
Robin Diener from Ward 2, and you know me from adult literacy in the library, and I just could say, if we really want people to be involved in this, it's a very complicated document, and my students, for instance, would really struggle to even be able to understand what they were voting for. So, and it would be a great civic involvement process to bring everyone in through the libraries and schools to do this.
David Schwartzman, I'm with the DC State of Green Party, and I live in Ward 4. I've lived in DC since 1976.
Yeah, we look forward to you. Yeah.
I've lobbied on a lot of issues. So, thank you.
Hi, and I'm Stephen Cove, and I'm making a documentary film about this entire process. It's called Who Cares About DC?
Excellent.
And it's a work in progress, and we'll see what happens in November, and then in January, and then beyond. So, thank you.
I think I've sent Councilmember McDuffie some of this. These are the
Okay.
comments I put together during this whole process so far of the issues, and it's a very superficial kind of analysis because there's a lot more thought that needs to go into everything.
We're going to send we're going to send a statement that represents all of us. We'll email all of the council people.
Okay.
And the chair.
There's a whole bucket of defects in this Constitution.
Yeah.
And the process is a flawed
biggest
process
defect.
in terms of, I mean, that's one of the major issues, that it's a flawed process.
Because the concern really is that the council should not simply take the resolution that's being considered and convert that into instructions to the Board of Elections, because there's language about the Constitution being approved by the council.
Mm-hmm.
And so that has implications that the commission generated this quote Constitution, and then the council is going to make changes, and that will be the Constitution. No, that's our
People
real
have nothing
concern.
to say.
No. Okay.
And if you look at the Constitution in 1982, a convention met for 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
There were 5 members from each of the wards in the city. Detailed hearings were held on each and every item in the Constitution. It was a 90-day period with elected representatives from each of the wards, 5 from each of the wards.
Mm-hmm.
45 people.
Yeah, and there was very robust discussion on all the different issues.
And there's been no deliberative process in terms of this purported Constitution. I went to one of the meetings in Ward 8, and people were allowed to sign in without indicating their address or what have you. So we don't know who the people are who will really participate in this process, whether they were district citizens or not.
And you only get 3 minutes to speak, which is not enough to talk about something as momentous as what your new state will look like.
And actually at that one at the, what was it, the lottery board or whatever, in Ward 8?
Taxi cab.
Oh, the
Taxi
taxi
cab. I asked how many people were from Ward 8 out of the attendees, and 3 people raised their hand.
I'm not trying to be rude. I'm going to search on my phone just because.
Yeah.
Search for
Okay.
Because they didn't know, not that they weren't
Well,
interested.
I'm just trying to pull
I
up
think we
the.
made our point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Glad you were here at the front desk.
And this is your card?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
No budget. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We
Thank you.
really
See you
appreciate it.
Again in the next lobby.
Thank you very much for your.
I have to went on a call back actually from the issue we spoke about at
Right.
the rec
Okay.
center. So I'll give you a shout on that.
My name is Ed Jordan. I talked to Alfreda yesterday about sharing the message that we're bringing today to the council member. We're a group of residents here in the District of Columbia who have some concerns about the proposed statehood. And our concern has to do with the process that was involved in developing it. We're asking the council member, I think I explained this to Alfreda yesterday, but we're asking the council member to support statehood by dealing with the question, put that on the referendum in November, but taking from that particular piece of legislation, or the resolution that's being considered, considered any reference to to the Constitution. Our concern is that the Constitution is being proposed has not been adopted through a democratic process.
Director's out. You've got the communications director right
Okay.
now.
You will communicate this.
This is Absalom Jordan, and this is a group of residents from the city who are here today to talk to you about the proposed resolution that's going to come up Tuesday on statehood.
Okay.
And we represent a broad group from across the city. Howard Croft and I are delegates to the initial Constitutional Convention in 1982. But we have some concerns about the resolution. What we're asking the council member to do is to support a resolution that strikes from it any reference to a constitution.
Okay.
That we want in the fall for people to have an opportunity to vote on statehood, yes or no. We don't is with the resolution that's going to come up for a vote on Tuesday. And we're asking that the council member support a resolution that calls for statehood in the fall, a vote on statehood in the fall, either yes or no. But that the resolution should strike from it any reference to a constitution. We have some concerns with the way in which the Constitution was the so-called Constitution was adopted. We have some concerns about the provisions in it or lack of provisions in it. Howard Croft and I were did I say that already?
No.
Howard Croft and I were delegates to the Constitution Convention in 1982 that drafted the Constitution that was ratified by the citizens of the city. So we know the process that should have taken place, and that is missing this time. So.
Okay. And I guess last but maybe least, David Schwartzman. I live in Ward 4. I moved to DC in 1976. I'm a professor emeritus at Howard University and retired, so I have a chance to lobby all of you. And I'm with the DC Stated Green Party, and you may recall that the DC Stated Party really started its whole movement with Julius Hobson, Sam Smith, Joe Butler, Hilda Mason, and so on. So we are the descendant of that, and we're very committed to getting statehood, but we don't want the referendum to be jeopardized by putting a constitution with statehood yes or no, because there's very problematic aspects of the Constitution that have already been shared. We want the strongest vote possible for statehood on November 8th. Thank you.
Thank you.
You could
How are y'all doing?
Councilmember, how are you?
See you.
Okay.
We met in the longer
That's right.
feed.
Good to see you again.
Ward 7.
Absolutely. How are you doing?
Ann Lincoln,
Yeah,
Ward
good to
3.
see you again. How's everybody doing back there?
Hello.
Good to see you again.
Anne LaRoche, Ward 2.
Good to see you, Ann.
Thank you.
Hi,
Nice
Charles.
to see
Stephen
you.
Kolb, one of your constituents. We've talked before
Yeah.
about the film I'm making. Nice to see you again. Thank you.
My
Thanks
name
for
is
seeing us.
Ab Jordan. I'm here representing a group of citizens from the District of Columbia today. I'm not representing, I'm just here speaking for them.
Thank you.
We represent ourselves. Howard Croft and I were delegates to the Constitutional Convention that wrote the Constitution in 1982. And we are part of this group because we're concerned about the process that has been developed or used for developing the so-called Constitution that's being advanced.
Me too.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, because what we're asking you to do is on Tuesday to support a resolution that would go to the public in November that would offer us the opportunity to say yes or no to statehood, but striking from that resolution any reference to Constitution. We believe that that's a longer process. It's a process that people need to be more engaged and involved in, and so we would like to have the opportunity to do it. So we'd love to have your support in our position. That is, that saying to not only the citizens of the District of Columbia, to our Congress and anybody else, that we support statehood for the district, but we don't want to be saddled with this idea of a constitution. The reality is we don't want to see a fight, and we don't want it to come up where someone said, well, they really weren't supporting statehood, or they didn't have a strong enough backing, or citizens weren't really committed to it, or there was this big fight over statehood. Why should we support it when the citizens really don't? But we can send a message by simply saying yes or no.
I'll definitely consider. I haven't seen an amendment like you're talking about to strike that. I'll keep it in mind. I don't know if I can commit one way or the other right now to that piece. I'll say I have been concerned with the way in which the public, the community, frankly even the council members have been engaged in coming up with the current draft. For example, there was not a single town hall that was held in Ward 6. There was one that was scheduled at the Southwest Library and then just got canceled abruptly. And so I have even had some residents who showed up and wanted to be able to have a conversation, engage, and that didn't happen. So at least as I understand it, the intention now would be that the Constitution would go from the group of 5, which I don't think, even with the best of intentions, I don't think necessarily is a way to capture everybody's interests. Would move now to the full council, to where the council could amend, rewrite, hold hearings. That's an improvement.
Do whatever
But
you want.
it's still problematic. The reality is, there won't be any real deliberations among the public, among the people who would have some interest in this. For example, if an individual
Host my own forum in Ward 6, because I think I still need to hear from a lot of my constituents that both like certain aspects, don't like certain aspects, but I don't feel like that space has been created to have that voice yet. And if we go the route of where the council does it and holds hearings, you're absolutely right. There'll be times when people are on the clock for 3 minutes. It's really hard to have a deeper level of conversation with just a 3-minute. So I think by having that, it's at least an effort, and would do better than what we got right now.
We need to hold a real convention.
I'm sorry, Howard, 1 second.
We need to back up and hold a real statehood convention where delegates elected from each ward, so that we can go on topic by topic, the name, whether or not people have a right to a job, which was in the original Constitution, the different various issues, transportation, where Metro fits in, where the Attorney General's office, because the present Constitution puts the Attorney General back under the jurisdiction of the mayor. Okay, that all of those things are problematic, but those are things that should be discussed in different sessions in a real convention.
I consider the Constitution that was, I guess, sent over
Written
as
by the Statehood Commission.
as a fairly draft document. I don't consider that to
No,
be.
it is a
Right.
rough draft.
It's got a lot of
That's why we
problems
want it
with it.
separated from the vote in November.
There would be greater clarity about what is or is not in that Constitution. Does that address any concerns, or is
So
it more the
No.
formulation of the
I
Constitution?
think,
No,
I
it's a
think
wrong
that,
process.
I think the Constitution, I think the council can start holding hearings on it, but I don't think you want it on the ballot in November, because I think you will find, once you get into it, that the issues are much more complex, and that you need a lot more study, and you need a lot more comment, and that it's going to take longer than you ever imagined to really figure out what you want to do in addition to doing the rest of your work, and it's an election year, and you throw all that kind of stuff together, you're not going to have a chance to really do a real thoughtful job, and you're going to be very frustrated, and the voters will be frustrated. So just make it simple, start the process, and engage with the citizens all over the city, and we can then debate what kind of process this ultimately should be, but it would be a chance for us all to be educated, the people to be educated and knowledgeable about the issues, so that you're getting real feedback, so that we actually get a constitution that the people will want to ratify.
Contentiousness about this proposed constitution is so broad on so many issues, it could sink the whole ship. The referendum could fail
That's right.
because of the public distress about it.
So that subverts the whole goal of the referendum is.
Residents, as much as I wanted, didn't include me.
Right.
That's right.
I wasn't even invited to the convention, or whatever the
Still
the
doesn't
thing was.
include you.
So that part bothers
town
me in
meeting.
terms of the way that people are engaged. I do think, though, if we go through a process where the council has to take certain actions, I absolutely know I'm going to have constituents who will come to me and say, I want you to do this, I want you to do that, and there's a level of accountability that was not there. Now, it may not be, if that's the route that we end up going, the type of constitutional convention that you are describing. But that, at least, that is better to me than where we have been. I will also say, No matter which route we take, one of the things that's important to me is to, in the fall, before any actions are taken, and certainly before November, I want to hold a bigger meeting just for Ward 6 to say, what are your thoughts? What are your concerns? What's right? What's wrong? And not hit the clock for 3 minutes, but give people a chance to have a real conversation, because it hadn't even happened yet. And that's what concerns me.
No, we don't have an appointment. We're just a group that wants to talk to her about statehood.
Okay, just have a seat. Let me get someone to help you.
Look at this, she has real seeing.
It's in Alan's office too, the little soldiers.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
I spoke way.
No, she didn't.
Ashley, we've met before. I'm doing great.
Is she here?
She is, and she's actually on a call. We're trying to balance several different meetings now. Our chief of staff is meeting with someone from the Pay Family Leave Coalition. And we are trying to prep for Tuesday's legislative
That's why
meeting.
we're here to help her prep.
Please, please. So I am going to be the liaison, if that's okay with you all.
Well, we could wait for her
till
when
she
she's
gets
on
off
the
the
call.
phone.
This is a staff call, so I'm not sure how long she'll be on there, but you're more than welcome to wait if you're doing this circle, if you're kind of circling around.
Want us to come back in about half an hour or something?
I will be honest, today is extremely hectic. So is it?
While we've got you.
I'm happy to chat now. Are there specific? I was told this is about statehood.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so are there specific concerns
Yes.
with the Constitution? Okay,
Yes.
yes. Let's sit down and go through them, or
We don't have to sit down.
okay. Why? How long do you have?
We won't be more than an hour.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure everyone's comfortable.
My name
Ashley,
is Ab Jordan.
Ab,
Ab Jordan, yes.
very nice to meet you.
Everybody say their words as we go.
Please.
Oh,
So we've got Mr. Jordan. What ward are you in?
I'm in God's country, Ward 8.
Hey, I'll take it. Okay.
Excuse me.
Please.
Before we get started, these two are two of the
I was gonna explain that
original-
too.
Okay.
Okay.
But first we want to.
Hi, I'm Howard Croft, and I live in Ward 8.
Very nice to